Have you ever followed the reference perfectly, but your watercolor still didn't work? Most of the time, that's not about skill. It's about planning. Even if you're not a professional painter, good planning already takes you almost all the way there. So today I'll walk you through how I personally plan a watercolor step by step before the brush ever touches the paper. Whenever I look at a reference picture, I always break it down into two steps. The first step is reading the reference properly, especially in terms of values. And then the second step is choosing the colors and translating what I see into watercolor. When I read values, the easiest way for me to do it, and honestly the reason why I created my tonal values and Masstone scale, is to simplify everything into one question. Is the subject in the light or in the shadow? If something's in the light, I know I'm roughly working in values 1 to 5. If it's in the shadow, I'm working with values 6 to 10. 5 and 6 are transition points. They're a little tricky to read. They could be either light or shadow. And by the way, for those who've been asking about my tonal values and Masstone scale, I do have it available on Etsy. So if you're interested, I'll just leave the link down below. So back to the reference. In this case, the duck is mostly in the shadow. So you can see this side is in the shadow. And there are highlights, 1 and 2. So 1 is the head and 1 is the right side of the body. But the main mass of the duck sits in the shadow. So right away, I know I'm not dealing with super light values. In fact, I'll be looking at values 6 to 9. And when I start planning colors and values, I always start from the subject, from the focal points. So which ones are the focal points? I want to capture the glow, so the one focal point will be the beak. The eye is also a focal point, but in this picture it doesn't matter as much as the beak or the belly. The belly is also where the light is interesting to me. I want to capture these 2 points in this painting. It's interesting to me also how the belly transitions into the back of the duck. It's a nice soft transition I want to recreate in my painting, and also how the feet are reflecting the light. One other thing that I'll be keeping in mind in this painting is that the background is not going to be exactly like this background. It is going to be a little darker compared to the duck, but I'll be working more with temperature contrast. So the background is going to be warmer. I'll talk about this later. However, I will be applying the wash of yellow ochre. I'll be overlapping some phthalo blue to make that olivey green you can see in the reference picture. The rocks are important, but not as important as the duck. For the rocks, I'll be keeping them on the lighter side of things, and I'll be using cool colors. I'll be having all this section here that's going to be cool, and the background is going to be warm. So now I'll start swatching my colors, and let's start with the beak. And for this, I want to start roughly around value 6. And I know that my yellows usually sit between value 2 and 4. And I also know that orange doesn't really go darker than value 6. I will start with a base of orange, and it could be an orange straight out of a tube, but I like to make it a little more interesting. So I think I'll be using some yellow plus some kind of quinacridone magenta or quinacridone red. It doesn't matter. The effect is going to be the same at the end. And because we said that the duck is in the shade, we're looking at values 6 to 9. The beak is orange. It's perfect because it's already living on value 6, and it's Masstone. Masstone is basically when you squeeze a paint out of the tube in its creamy consistency. It's 6. It doesn't get any darker than 6, but you can make it darker. So this beak is going to be around value 6 and 7. So we're going to start with some kind of primary yellow as the base. And then to this yellow, I'll be adding a touch of magenta, not too much, just enough to make it interesting. You see, it can be lighter, darker. It can vary as you paint. And the consistency needs to be creamy to get to this intensity. So you want creamy paint on your brush, like this. And this beak is kind of muted, right? To mute this beak, I'll be choosing cobalt blue, and I'll tell you why in a second. First of all, one reason is blue is the opposite, is the complementary color to orange. So if you add blue, you're going to neutralize the beak. But why cobalt blue in particular? I could have chosen indigo or phthalo blue, but I'm going for cobalt blue because it's very gentle and it's Masstone. It's not that dark. It's one of the lightest blues that are still on the warmer side of blues. What do I mean by that? And by the way, French ultramarine light works really well too. So cobalt blue sits around value 7 to 8. And so when you mix it with this kind of orange that's on value 6, you don't need to be that careful because it's not an overpowering blue. It's quite forgiving to mix it with any kind of orange without it overpowering the mix. You see, it doesn't take over the mix. It just simply neutralizes it very gently. And that's all I want for this beak, because this beak you can still read it as orange. And in fact, look at this. For me, this is actually the perfect intensity, chroma, color, you name it. For me, it's a really good match. I could also have used indigo or burnt umber, but you need to be a little more careful, or even phthalo blue, but you need to be more careful because those colors are on the darker side of things. So if you want to use them with this kind of mix, they need to be more diluted, or you just need to get a little tiny dot of that color in a creamy consistency. For me, just for risk management, the safest one is cobalt blue. You can pick up a lot and it's not going to be that strong. And that's what I think for the beak and also for the feet of the duck. It's going to be a very similar mix. So this is beak and feet. If you like this kind of videos, don't forget to like and subscribe, and it supports me. I feel like someone is appreciating the work I put into to do these videos. So yes, that would be super appreciated if you do those two things. Then I'm thinking for the belly of the duck, that's another interesting point that I want to include. I'll be starting with the same mix of primary yellow and quinacridone red or primary red magenta. It's the same thing to me. You'll end up at about a similar result. So here you go. So this is my yellow, and I'm mixing the colors straight on the paper. By the way, this is cellulose paper. It's nothing fancy because anyway, these are just color swatches. So this is going to be my belly. You can make it a bit more muted if you'd like. For now, I'll just keep the colors pure because it's easier to work with. What I want to say is that the belly is orange and the local color of this duck is basically a bluish cool color. So again, it makes me think of cobalt blue because it's gentle. So I'll pull out cobalt blue and I'll put it here. It's not pure. It's a little dirty, this cobalt blue. There you have it. Now it's pure. So if I were to pull this cobalt blue into the orange, it's going to end up in a kind of greenish or muted mix. But if I go through magenta, this mix is not to be as neutral as the blue to orange mix. Look, we're going to blend the colors together. Taking it there. I'm pulling the cobalt blue into the orange. It's actually a very pretty mix. It's neutral, but it's not dull. And now to think about tonal values in the shade are between 6 and 9, and cobalt blue is already around value 7. This area in the duck is not value 7, right? This is more like a 5, maybe a 4 even, because it's white and it's in the dark. So whites in the dark can be tricky sometimes. And that's why when you paint the belly, you're going to be using a thick consistency, creamy consistency of orange paint. But when you're going to paint the body of the duck, it's going to be a watery consistency because you want to take this cobalt blue a little bit down the tonal value scale. As a beginner, I was making this mistake, or I would get lost mid-painting because I didn't know the direction I was going, or how much paint was enough paint, or when it was the time to stop. So now you know, with the blue, you stop at a watery consistency, and with the orange, you need to take it to a more like creamy consistency. These are two important points. And the transition, you have to eyeball it. You kind of mix it as you go, and it's going to be somewhere in between. And one thing that I forgot to mention, the belly is going to be orange, and orange needs to be creamy. But I don't go straight with creamy consistency paint onto the paper. It'll be streaky, it'll be blotchy. It's not very nice to see. So I'll be working my colors from watery up to milk consistency, and then eventually I'll be ending up on a creamy consistency. And by the way, if you're wondering, by watery consistency, I mean this is water for me. That's water. When the paint is very flowy, very runny, for me, that's water. So you can see the paint, but you also see the water in it. But milk consistency is more like this for me. Look. But this is milk. So it's a little less flowy. You cannot distinguish between the water and the paint particles. And for creamy consistency, like it's the paint straight out of the tube. Very thick. It doesn't spread, doesn't move. It stays where you put it. These are the three differences: watery, milky, and creamy. The eyes are technically a focal point too, but these eyes are very tiny and they don't really add much to the picture, so I'll be just painting them with some burnt umber or indigo. I'll just stick to these two colors, and I'll be sure to keep the light, the little highlight inside the eye, and that will be enough for the eyes on this duck. Also because I'll be painting this duck on an A5 piece of paper, which is not that big. Yeah, let's swatch the background because why not? Background, like I said, we'll keep it a little lighter compared to this reference picture. So I'll be starting with a watery wash of yellow ochre. Here is yellow ochre. Putting down quite a generous amount because we want this to mix naturally with phthalo blue. Phthalo blue, I'll pick out this one. Doesn't matter if it's red shade or blue shade, that will pretty much end up in a very similar mix. And let's pull it in. So you can see here that the result you're gonna get is going to be quite an orangey, warm mix. And that's perfect, it matches perfectly. Once the paint here dries, you're going to see that this color is very similar to this color. And the consistencies that we're thinking are, again, yellow ochre is a little deeper compared to a regular yellow. So let's say it's around value 6 already, which is good because you want to be in the shade for this area. The background is a shaded part of this picture. This one is not that difficult because it's not a light subject or anything you need to be too careful of. You work wet on wet, you lay on your yellow ochre until you think it's enough. I mean, you can take it down to creamy, but it doesn't need to be too creamy. And then you layer on top of it some phthalo blue. Phthalo blue is around 8. Don't go in with creamy consistency because it may be too much too soon. So maybe start with milky and then you can thicken it up with creamy. And I actually like the part up here being a little darker as opposed to the bottom side and all around it. So this is where I may use some burnt umber or indigo, but I will make all those decisions as I go. I like to have this planning and swatching done ahead of starting a painting. I find it nice to look back at, and I don't need to think of anything new when I'm painting. For the rocks, I will be using cobalt blue or even French ultramarine. Doesn't matter, they're very similar. So cobalt blue, some magenta. For the rocks, you see, you will get this kind of result. And maybe I'll just neutralize this mix a tiny bit. You can use burnt sienna or yellow ochre will change the hue a little bit more. So let's go with the complementary burnt sienna. That's maybe too much here. Just okay, like this. It's going to be a very pretty, gentle, neutral, and it's going to be at a watery to milky consistency. Because like we said, when you want a light hue of a blue color, you want it to be watery. So this is it. Yeah, that's my thinking. I start from the subject, I focus on the glow, I swatch constantly, and I let the values guide my color choice. And once this blending is done, the painting itself feels much calmer. You already know which colors to put and where. You just have to think of color placement. And by the way, now this swatch has dried. Look how similar it is to the background. All right, so thank you so much for watching, especially if you made it till the end, and I'll see you in my next video. Bye bye.